Pam, everybody was here, right? So we're just gonna wait for him, right?
All right, I'm going to go ahead and start. Adequate notice of this meeting was provided by sending such notice to the Asbury Press, the Middletown Patch, and the Middletown Township Public School District website, and the posting of such notice at the ISD minor administrative offices and each elementary, middle, and secondary school website in the district. Roll call.
Mrs. Caminiti. Mr. DeFranco.
Here.
Mr. Donlin.
Here.
Mr. Gymo. Mr. Little.
Here.
Mrs. Minuis.
Here.
Mrs. Wright. Mrs. Stella.
Here.
Mrs. Rogers.
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence for Helen Rudy, who passed away on June 14th, 2020. Helen was a teacher from 1978 until 2000. She worked most of her career at Nutswamp Elementary School. Ms. Rudy also taught at Lincroft, River Plaza, Middletown Village, Fairview, and New Monmouth Elementary Schools. Our thoughts and prayers are with Helen's family and friends. I pledge allegiance
To the flag.
To the flag
United
of
States.
the United States of America.
and to the
And the
republic
republic which it stands,
One nation.
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, we have a recognition for the 2019 to 2020 retirees.
Okay, so thank you, Mrs. Rogers. This is not usually how we celebrate our retirees at this time of year, but I did see a lot of them are here with us tonight, even in this virtual world. So thank you, all of you who are here joining us. It gives us such pleasure to recognize you this evening as our distinguished retirees in June 2020, following the 2019-20 school year. Whereas the following personnel have retired from active employment of the Middletown Township Board of Education, and whereas they have been outstanding co-workers in the Middletown Township school system during long and honorable careers, and whereas the Board of Education is desirous of expressing its gratitude for their public service. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Education does hereby express its deep appreciation of the many years of public service they have rendered on behalf of the Board of Education, and does commend them for their invaluable service which they have displayed in the performance of their duty. This evening, we are recognizing the following staff members: Charles Alessi, Chief Custodian, New Monmouth Elementary School; Stephanie Anderson, Secretary, Board Central Office; Janet Andrel, School Nurse, Lincroft Elementary School; Michelle Armistead, Special Education Teacher, Thorne Middle School; Anna Aversano, Confidential Secretary, Central Office; Noreen Azuri, Paraprofessional, Middletown High School South; Lisa Colicchio, Paraprofessional, Harmony Elementary School; Judith Setnar, Physical Education Teacher, Bayview, Lincroft, and Nutswamp Elementary Schools; Scott Cheney, Maintenance Mechanic; Theodore Clark, or Ted Clark, as he's fondly known as, Facilities Supervisor; Mary Jane DeSalvo, Paraprofessional, Middletown High School South; Jeffrey Zuckers, Custodian, Thorne Middle School; Kathleen Ferrari, Language Arts Teacher, Bayshore Middle School; Claudette Ford, Secretary, Thompson Middle School; Robert Fuller, Custodian, Middletown High School North; Dr. William George, Superintendent of Schools; Joseph Hake, Maintenance Mechanic; Denise Heibel, Co-Teacher, Bayview Elementary School; Lynn Janiak, 5th grade teacher, Harmony Elementary School; Robert Kegley, custodian, Middletown High School North. Sonia Leal, Spanish teacher, New Monmouth, Nutswamp, and River Plaza Elementary Schools. Diane Lindy, co-teacher, Port Monmouth Elementary School. Anne Marie Lodato, special education teacher, Thorne Middle School. Eileen Lynch, co-teacher, New Monmouth Elementary School. Nicholas Menente, social studies teacher, Bayshore Middle School. Lorraine Massey, paraprofessional, River Plaza Elementary. Teresa Masiello, paraprofessional, Thorne Middle School. Lynn McBride, paraprofessional, Nutswamp Elementary School. Lisa McCabe, second grade teacher, Lincroft Elementary. Joan McDermott, paraprofessional, Port Monmouth Elementary. Robert Messina, groundsman. Joan Musso, paraprofessional, Middletown High School South. Eleanor Olson, paraprofessional, Middletown High School South. Maureen Parks, paraprofessional, Thompson Middle School. Charles Pinzinski, custodian, Port Monmouth Elementary School. Kathleen Policano, paraprofessional, New Monmouth Elementary School. Lauren Rogers, science teacher, Thorne Middle School. Lynn Rubin, art teacher, Bayshore Middle School. Linda Samet, paraprofessional, Nutswamp Elementary School. Phyllis Savio, kindergarten teacher, Harmony Elementary. Holly Scarlata, paraprofessional, Middletown High School South. Roseanne Silverstein, reading development teacher, Middletown Village Elementary. Anne Zudzek, school nurse, Ocean Avenue Elementary. John Smith, chief custodian, Middletown Village Elementary. Sebastiana Soma, paraprofessional, Ocean Avenue Elementary. Ken Walls, facility supervisor. Ruth Wells, second grade teacher, Ocean Avenue Elementary School. Karen Wolcott, special education teacher, Bayshore Middle School. And Karen Zapancic, principal, Middletown Village Elementary School. Congratulations to all our retirees. We wish them the best of health, luck, and happiness in their future endeavors.
Sorry, I had to unmute myself. Okay.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Rogers. I'm sorry. You know what I just realized too? We had a second recognition this evening. Got so excited about our retirees. I failed to also include, I don't know if it's on this program. That's why I think we did have a special recognition. Yes, it is. It's right here. Our recognition of one of our community partners. If you attend our meetings regularly as a public member, you know that oftentimes throughout the year, the district recognizes some of our important community partners and stakeholders. And this month, the media specialists, along with Mrs. Morales, our supervisor of social studies and technology, wish to recognize our friends at the Middletown Public Library. The Middletown Township Public School District would like to take this opportunity to sincerely thank the staff of the Middletown Public Library for providing the availability of open access to digital reading and reference materials for the more than 9,600 students in the Middletown Public School District. As the governor sent school districts into virtual home instruction due to the COVID-19 pandemic, Middletown Public Library not only postponed due dates, but discontinued issuing fines for our students. Their support extended the ability to provide our educational staff with vital resources via databases, online magazines, ebooks, and audiobooks. This unlimited digital access became an integral component of our virtual learning environment. Furthermore, we recognize and value the cooperative opportunities that enrich our entire Middletown community via the Middletown Public Library. We are most grateful and would like to especially thank Heather Andelson, Library Director, Christine Anderson, Teen Librarian, Kate Hammond, Reference Department Manager, Catherine Kotska, Senior Reference Librarian, Jennifer Salt, Senior Children's Librarian, and Ellie Sturbo, Youth Services Manager. Thank you to all of those members of the Middletown Public Library for your continued support of our students and our programs.
Great. Thank you. And now to move on to our committee reports. We'll start with technology.
Good evening. There's 3 items for information only on tonight's agenda for the workshop for technology. The first one is the high school senior Chromebook collection. Over the course of 3 days last week, we successfully collected Chromebooks from our graduating seniors at both North and South. At the end of the collection, we had approximately 60 devices that still need to be collected. So we are working with the administration in both high schools to gather those remaining devices. Those devices that have been collected have gone through a cleaning process, are being repaired, and will be used to backfill our spare pool, which was exhausted when we started distributing devices in the beginning of virtual home instruction. The second item on tonight's agenda is update on summer projects. Due to schools being closed earlier than normal, we were able to get a jump start on many of our summer projects. And those summer projects being the installation of those new interactive flat panels in each of our schools. Maintenance has been assisting us greatly in helping remove the old equipment and installing new wiring where necessary. We began installation of a new Mac labs in both high school North and South to replace existing graphic design labs to go along with the curriculum updates. We continue to upgrade our servers, our virtual servers, to 2019 version servers. So they'll be the latest and greatest when we return to school, hopefully in September. Replacement desktops have arrived, and we have begun creating ghost images for those so we can start rolling them out to their final destination in the next few weeks. And finally, our replacement Chromebook collections, Chromebooks are expected to be delivered next week. And once they are, we'll begin prepping them and having them prepared for how schools start in September, whether it's virtually or not. The third item on tonight's agenda for technology is the Genesis conversion update. I'm sure Mrs. Doherty has updated the board on this as well, but I just wanted to give another update that we continue to move forward with our conversion from Genesis to Genesis from our business office and personnel existing software. Existing data has been brought into Genesis from those systems. Historical data has been exported and built into local databases and local storage so that we will have access to it indefinitely once those contracts cease to exist. Accounts for all district staff have also been created to access their employee portal. And those accounts will be used for digital communication with staff, such as contracts, digital documentation, contact information, etc. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, Pam, I had a question. I couldn't get to the link in time. Are we doing anything to reach out to parents with Chromebooks at home that if they're having any problems now that to get them fixed over the summer, just in case?
Our help desk is available all summer. We have the technology@middletownk12.org email address that we could be reached at, and we schedule appointments on an as-needed basis. We haven't reached out to anyone in particular about if they're having an issue, but we can post something on our website and share it that if they are having difficulty, they can surely reach out to us and we'll resolve it before school starts.
Yeah, I just think that would be a good idea to remind people not to wait to the last minute.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to student services, please.
Hi, everyone. So going a little bit out of order, we have some agenda items that you will vote on this evening. Home instruction, out-of-district placement, and we have a number of our contracted service providers for the upcoming school year. Informational items, we had a great meeting with the MTFODL on June 4th, and we spoke about many things impacting our students and our schools. We talked about the new What I Need, the WIN period that many of you are familiar with coming out in our elementary schedule that will support all of our students. We got input from the parents on our strategic plan, got an update on how our special education services are doing with remote learning, and also talked a little bit about how to engage our students with disabilities along with their gen ed peers in extracurricular activities. So that was our CPAC meeting on June 4th. An ESY update. I'm sure many people heard the governor's update, which was on June 12th, where he talked about the opening of camps and talked about the possibility and allowance for schools to have an in-person summer school program based on a number of criteria. So we are working very, very diligent, many hands, many hours a day to look at all of our possible options for ESY, both building-based and virtual. Getting a lot of input from parents, a lot of input from staff. We are reaching out to all of the parents of our children recommended for ESY to get their feelings about in-person and virtual. We're also reaching out to all of our ESY, those who have applied to be staff members, to get the same input from them. There are a lot of stringent criteria to take into account for the health and safety of the students, of the staff, and a lot of considerations as far as facilities and transportation. So we are looking at every available option and avenue for meeting the needs of the students in the summer program. Does anyone have any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to facilities finance. Amy Doherty.
Thank you, Mrs. Rogers. The first item we have on the committee of the whole agenda is our bond refunding. And if the board remembers, we passed resolutions back in the beginning of the year to authorize this refunding of our 2010 bonds, which were actually the 2010 bonds that were outstanding were refunding of a previous issue. So this is the second time this original debt was refinanced. So we have executed the transaction that the board did authorize. Just to refresh everyone's memory, we are not extending the life of the bonds. The bonds are still going to be maturing in 2028, which was the original year that they would be paid off. But we really had a phenomenal result from this transaction. It's actually one of the plus sides, I guess, of the instability that we've had. You know, we caught the market just right. Originally, when we were talking about doing this refunding, we were looking to realize a current present value savings of about $3.6 million. The transaction actually resulted in a overall, you know, through the end life of the bonds, a present value savings of $4.8 million. So we really did phenomenal. Our financial advisor said that she had never seen such a great savings, you know, from a refunding in all her years of doing it. So we really should be happy about that. So how that will impact us will be next year, our 2021 debt service budget. We did that budget because before the refunding, so it was based on our original debt service. So for that budget, we will be under budget from what we had budgeted by about $662,000. So that will result in a surplus available in our debt service fund. And just to remind everybody, the debt service fund is separate from our general fund. So although this will not add money into our general fund, it will impact our debt service tax levy because we assess a separate part of our tax levy to pay off these bonds that was approved when they did the original referendum. So we will have $662,000 extra in that budget for next year that will roll over to subsequent years. And we can decide, you know, when we do next year's budget, whether we capture all of that savings in the 21-22 budget or whether we spread it out. You have to use it within a few years. You can't let it sit there forever under budgeting guidelines, but we certainly will have that available to offset the tax levy in future years. In addition, when we do our debt service budget for 21-22, we will be budgeting $600,000 less than what we had to budget for next year originally. So we have the potential of really having, you know, if we captured all that savings plus the reduced budget of really reducing the the debt service levy for next year. Now it's a small part of our levy, but it will have an impact on that. So, you know, or we could spread the savings out over a couple of years. But I just really wanted to report to the board that it was a very, very good result. basic, our interest rate of the bonds that we refunded, and it sounds low to begin with, was 3.6%. And at the time they did that refunding, it was great. We got a really good rate. Our interest rate, our effective interest rate from this transaction is 0.72%. It's unbelievable. So we're basically, our effective interest rate is, virtually nothing. We've almost eliminated, the interest for the remainder of the life of the bond. So we're very happy with it. Good news. And it will benefit us going forward in our debt service budget. So, and does anyone have any questions on that? No? Okay. The other items that we have on the committee of the whole are voting agenda items that are listed under facilities and finance. We have a change order for HVAC that's listed on there that was revised because we had to add some additional controls to these units that was not anticipated originally in order to get it to fit into the system down at Bayshore. We have our financial reports. We have every year we write off our outstanding checks that are in preparation for the audit and for our year end of June 30th. So we have those listed on the agenda. There are some scholarships listed on the agenda that you will see approval of those. We also have an annual report out resolution to the board that we're required to do. It's number 1 under finance. It's Public Law 2015, Chapter 47. It's that report of awarded contracts. Basically, it's just to report to the board that we do renew contracts over the course of the year in all different areas, and that we do have to comply with the applicable federal and state regulations and statutes, in the awarding of those contracts, whether it be a renewal or a bid. So that's just something that we're required to do and let the board know the different categories that we have contracts in, which is all listed in the resolution. We then have every year before June 30th, we place resolutions on the agenda that allows the board to make deposits into reserve accounts at the end of the year if monies are available. So each year we put amounts that we feel will be in excess of what we will have available so that the board has latitude and can make those deposits appropriately when we do know what monies are available at the end of the year. We usually just put an amount for capital reserve, but we've added our maintenance reserve this year too, specifically because we have not replenished that in several years, and we've also used about half of it of the existing balance to fund our next year's budget. So if we have monies available, we may want to consider at least replenishing what we're using in next year's budget just to make the budget balance. So again, those are not commitments of amounts. They are just not to exceed amounts that we always make higher than what we feel that we will need. And then as we know what money's available, we make decisions on if we put monies in the reserve and how much they will be. We also have our liability insurance contracts on the agenda. Every year we put them on the agenda. It's our property and casualty and our errors and omissions and those types of insurances, basically everything but the health insurance. And for the last several years, we've been with the New Jersey Schools Insurance Fund for our coverage. And we make 3-year commitments when we go into that fund. So this was the last year, 1920 was the last year of our most recent 3-year commitment. So since that commitment was expiring, our broker took a look and marketed and got proposals from other sources, some private insurers, and then also looked at other GIFs. And the recommendation of our broker, which is on the agenda, is to place the coverage with the diploma GIF, which is a GIF that's been around since 1995, about 25 years old. It has 16, we would be the 17th school district member, which local districts like Wall and Shore Regional are in this GIF. The coverages that we received had higher limits, lower deductibles for a lesser cost. And I talked to the districts that, that I knew that participated in the JIF, and they said that they've had good experience with them as far as managing the renewals and also the customer service. There haven't been any complaints about it. So, it's seemed like the, common sense thing to do, to take the coverage that was providing us with the lesser deductibles, higher limits for less money. So just to give you a comparison, our current New Jersey School Board's insurance expiring premium between the workers' comp and the school board legal liability and our other liability insurance was $2,276,000. So our renewal option for this year totals $2,054,000. So we are seeing a reduction there. I don't know if anyone has any questions. This would be a 3-year commitment, just like the school board's insurance group. So although we would renew the coverage every year, they would give us the premium and we would negotiate that and put that on the agenda. We are saying we will participate in this JIF for 3 years. At the end of the 3 years, we're free to go back out and look at other options again. So that was a couple of different components of that resolution. I think there were 3 different components there. We also have the renewal of the food service contract with Whitson's that's listed on the agenda, and also our breakfast and lunch prices for next year. We're not proposing any changes in the meal prices for next year. They will remain the same. The renewal with Whitson's, and I'm going to preface this with saying it does not take into account any adjustments that may be needed for our operations for next year, because we don't know at this time what things are going to look like as far as serving meals. So negotiating it based upon our current or our normal, quote unquote, normal operation, they are giving us the same guarantee of $180,000 that we got for last year. So they are guaranteeing that we will make a profit of that much in our food service fund, which then we use to make the improvements and pay for the equipment and so forth in our fund that we own. They're not changing that from last year, and the meal prices will remain the same. So there's really not much change there. But again, I'm going to preface this by saying, if we have substantial changes in our operations from next year, we may need to, address this contract and some type of renegotiation. For the remainder of this year, for 1920, obviously we haven't been serving in the schools. We've been doing only the free and reduced meal distribution that we've been doing on site and delivering. We have had just a few Whitson staff members on staff, in the district doing that work. So those costs, have been reduced. I mean, obviously our revenues have been reduced as well, because we have not been doing nearly the amount of meals that we normally do. So we're going to have to see how that shakes out, for the end of the year. And then, we'll have to take a look at what next year looks like, and we'll have to talk to them if we have to make changes. But as of right now, we're required to renew the contract. It expires June 30th. If we don't renew it, then we won't have a food service provider for next year. So that's where we're at with the food service contract. Another item that's on the agenda is the schedule of payments on the tax levy. This is simply our agreement with the township of how they will pay us the tax levy that they collect on our behalf. So the schedule remains unchanged from last year as far as timing and percentage of the levy that we receive at certain dates. The only thing that changes are the amounts to agree with the next year's tax levy. So I've worked with the township administrator on that over the past several years, and we come to an agreement based upon both of our cash flows of what will work. And this is on the agenda for approval. And I think that covered everything that we had on the finance and facilities agendas. Of course, we have our monthly financial reports that are included in the report of the business administrator and board secretary. We will again be closing out the year in June. So then at that point, we will be flipping everything over to Genesis, like Dave talked about earlier. So we'll be on the new system starting July 1st. We've already started entering requisitions and purchase orders and so forth on the new system. So we're excited about that. It seems to be going well so far. It's a learning curve, but it's definitely a nice upgrade system. And as we said, when we adopted the resolution to do it, we'll be saving money because we'll be actually paying less, for these systems. So far, so good. That's all I have.
Thanks, Amy. Okay, so I guess we're moving on to policy.
We have two policies on the agenda for first readings. These are from an alert we received back in March. So we're trying to push those through. We've been sort of inundated with other things. There will be other policies coming, but the two that are on for a first reading this evening are revisions to the health and physical education policy and also supervision of construction. I know the supervision of construction change is primarily regarding wording on the criminal history background information, which we have been receiving from our contractors already, but we're, we have to list, we just changed some of the wording in the policy that was mandated to reflect, that is mandatory, and, we will be, we will be including that there. I know as far as the health and physical education policy, there were a few changes in statute that are being reflected here. I'm not sure if anyone else wants to speak to that, but it has to do with financial literacy instruction, history of disabled and LGBT persons in the middle and high school curriculum, and also policies and procedures pertaining to inclusive instructional material. Those statutes were recently approved, so they are now being incorporated into the policy.
Amy, I have a question, and this might be a question for Mrs. Pincus. For item 17, especially history of disabled and LGBT persons, is that meant to be, along with the other things in this policy, something that's included? I mean, all the other stuff in here seems like stuff that you'd learn in health class effectively. And are we teaching that in health class, or are we weaving that into the English, the lit, and the history curriculums? And if we did that, would that satisfy the statute?
Yes, it's an integrated approach between the health instruction as well as the humanities with our history and English language arts departments.
Okay, great. Thank you.
As far as the policy, the policy committee meeting, the next meeting is June 30th. Mike, I don't know if you want to jump in here. We are going to be talking about revisiting our enrollment distribution every 5 years as per request of Mr. DeFranco at a prior meeting, as well as adjusting and adding policies to address racism as a health and humanitarian crisis in America, as has been brought to light by the disparity in COVID mortality and in police brutality mortality in the African American community. So we wanted to discuss a bit of that at the next policy committee meeting. Mike, do you want to jump in with anything else?
No, we have the policy committee on the calendar for next week. Can you hear me?
June 30th. 16th.
Yep. June 30th.
Yes.
Yep.
We can also update the board on the other policies that we've received that need updating and what we'll be working on in the next couple of months at that meeting.
Thank you, Amy.
And these will be on the agenda again in July as second readings, and at that point, the revisions will be finalized.
Okay.
That's all.
Great. So we're moving on to curriculum and instruction next.
So we just wanted to give the board and the community an update regarding our summer programs. Last month, we discussed that we would be expanding upon our summer opportunities to ensure that all students have access to curricular materials and resources and instruction as needed and identified. So just a quick update before we move specifically to our AP coursework design for the summer. We do have currently approximately a little over 500 students, K-8, who will be participating in our summer literacy and math SOAR program. Those are students who have been identified through multiple measures, whether that be data, their assessment data, teacher referrals, or recommendations to participate in summer tutoring with several of our teachers and our interventionists to try to help them close any achievement gaps that they are working to address. So we're really excited that that's an increase in our usual number of participation, and that will be held virtually. Parents have responded very favorably to that option. We've offered morning, afternoon, and early evening time periods where teachers and instructors will coordinate with parents to set those schedules for students. In addition, we've expanded enrichment opportunities in the form of book clubs for all students at all three school levels, elementary, middle, and high school. We have a significant number of staff who will be facilitating book clubs over the summer. They've done a great job securing books that can be shared with students electronically and digitally, so it won't require all parents or students to purchase materials. The staff has worked along with Mrs. Morales, Mrs. Banglan, and Mrs. Alphone, and Mrs. Merrow to make sure that many of our books that we're using for our book clubs this summer are current and relevant to current events that we're experiencing right now in our nation and around the world. As Mrs. Rogers just alluded to, some of those include racism, discrimination, social justice, global equity, global competence. And they also include titles that are on our suggested summer reading list. So we're really excited about introducing the summer book club option for all of our students. And we really hope a lot of them participate and take advantage of the opportunity to interact with their peers, their classmates, and our teachers. In addition, we're also going to be implementing an Algebra 2 Jumpstart program this summer to assist students who are moving into Algebra 2 next year in making sure that they are fully prepared for entering that interaction with that curriculum. Another change this summer to assist our AP students. We're always committed in Middletown to supporting our AP students who really take advantage of that most rigorous curriculum that we offer. For a number of reasons, not to say the least, our shift to virtual instruction over the last 3 months, rather than offering our traditional summer assignments that are typically assigned to students who enroll in AP courses, we're going to try something new this summer. And this was based on some survey that we did with students and some suggestions that they offered to us, as well as our collaboration with our AP teachers. We are offering students the opportunity to virtually and flexibly be introduced to their AP classwork and their syllabus over the month of August. This introduction will be the equivalent of about the first 2 weeks of the course syllabuses, which tend to focus on remediating or reintroducing students to prerequisite skills. So this is a good opportunity to work on those areas and those skills. We're very pleased by the teachers' responses to participating and providing this type of instruction for our students in August. On tonight's board agenda, we are recommending, I believe it's 39 AP teachers out of 44 AP teachers who will be needed next year to teach 24 different courses, or subject areas. So we're really excited about that. I think all of our AP coursework and courses will have opportunity to engage in summer work. I think there's just one, that European history that we aren't able to provide over the summer. But other than that, we're really excited. We've already had many students register to participate in this program, and they have a couple more days to continue to register. And they've been notified many different channels from their AP teachers, through Naviance, through social media. So word has really gotten out, and we're seeing a large number of students already registering to participate. Any questions about our summer programs? Okay, we have a couple voting items on the agenda this evening. We are recommending that we renew our memorandum of understanding with the Keensburg School District so that we can allow Middletown students to participate in their Criminal Justice Academy. This year we had 1 student participate in the academy. Next year we have, I believe it's approximately 3 students who have already expressed interest in participating in the Criminal Justice Academy at Keensburg. In addition, or in exchange, like we did this year, we will host Keensburg students who are looking for opportunity to participate in AP coursework that Keensburg School District is unable to offer due to under enrollment. We did have a few students this year from Keensburg, I believe it was 3, who took advantage of that opportunity. And the other thing that we have on the agenda this evening are 2 affiliation agreements with Seton Hall and Rowan University for us to host clinical interns and student teachers next year. And then we do have some requests already for homeschooling. I believe it's 2, not requests, but intents. Parents have given us their intent, written to us that they will be homeschooling their children next year. And we're just affirming, recognizing that we received their intent. Any questions?
I have a question, but not on any of the topics. When the letter that's being sent to the school district from the community about improving the communications and the curriculum, it says in there that the curriculum is not made available to the public. Is that true? I thought all curriculum had to be made available to the public.
Can you give me a little bit more frame of reference on that, Mrs. Minuez? I'm not sure which communication.
The letter people are signing for us to take a stand and improve our curriculum with the history and
I think she's referring to the open letter from the students. Is that what you're talking about?
Well, the open letter from the community.
Oh, okay. Can you repeat the question again?
It says in there that the curriculum is not made available to the public. I thought all curriculum had to be made available to the public.
Yeah, upon request, we do provide information regarding our curriculum. There is a fee for copying or any type of work that has to be produced, but they would have to make a request.
So if I may, Mrs. Peakus, I mean, the curriculum in general isn't on the website or isn't at the board office. And in some respects, curriculum, and I'll defer to the educators, but it may be very document intensive. And so it may be subject to disclosure upon an Oprah request.
Right.
And then depending on how voluminous it is, there may be certain fees or charges applicable. But it's not just once the board adopts the curriculum on an annual basis, which you do at your annual reorganization meeting, a copy of said curriculum isn't delivered to every parent, or again, isn't posted on the website. And so absent an indication or an allegation that a request was made and not fulfilled, I would submit that the district is in full compliance with the law.
I'm just asking why, but I thought we had to provide the curriculum to any parent who wanted to see it.
So again, as I indicated, the way you phrased the question was the curriculum wasn't provided. The question wasn't phrased as a parent wanted to see it. If a parent wants to see it, that parent can speak with their building principal and or central office, and accommodations can be made.
I never said that someone wasn't giving it. I'm referring to the letter that was sent, and it said that the curriculum is not made available. I'm just curious, why it wouldn't be, because I was impressed all curriculum had to be made available to parents if they want, if they chose.
But the letter doesn't say that the person asked to see it.
No, it just said it wasn't made available. That's what I'm questioning.
Okay, so therefore the person can speak with the principal, speak with central office, and I'm sure that it will be made available and explained to that parent.
Okay, just so people know.
I also would like to say I provided a response to the open letter to create open lines of communication and dialogue with the school community. So that was addressed in there as well.
Okay, that's it for curriculum and instruction.
One other thing on the curriculum, and We're having our next curriculum committee meeting on July 15th at 6 o'clock.
Okay. So that leaves us with,
Mrs. Rogers, before we move to the next area, there is one other item that I neglected to mention under the finance agenda, which is the resolution that we have on for this evening about the proration of aid in lieu payments to parents of non-public school students who we do not provide transportation because we cannot do it within the costs that we're required to stay with under. So we offer an aid in lieu payment that is set by statute to be $1,000 per year. However, because we did not run transportation after schools closed in March through the end of the year, the New Jersey DOE is allowing for a proration of that $1,000 for this year. So instead of it being $1,000, it would be $667 for the year. So we make those payments in 2 installments. The parents receive their first $500 back in December, and then they would receive the other $500 normally in June. But we will be paying $167 because it's the prorated amount through March. So that's on the agenda as well. I just forgot to mention that before.
okay, thanks, Amy.
Okay.
So now we're moving on to student services with Mary Ellen Walker, please.
Hello. Last week, the high schools held their virtual graduations and the middle schools held their virtual promotions. These were really great ceremonies honoring our students for their achievements, and our staff did a really nice job putting them together. So if anyone hasn't had the opportunity to watch them and wants to watch them, they are available on the district's YouTube channel. You can go and find the link and watch them at any time. Coming up, the high schools will be holding their modified graduation ceremonies. That will be on July 8th and 9th with a rain date of July 10th. There will be 3 ceremonies for each high school. They're breaking their graduating class into thirds. Each graduate will have the opportunity to bring 2 guests in with them, along with staff members that will be on hand. They will be held in the football fields. 2 will be held on the 8th in the morning, and 1 will be held on the 9th in the morning. The fields get very hot as the day goes on, so we're trying to get them in the morning. There's also a much greater chance of thunderstorms as we progress into the afternoon in the summer, so that's why the mornings were chosen. These will give the students an opportunity to walk across the stage and get their photo taken on stage. They will then have an opportunity to get that digital photo free later on after they're uploaded by the photographers at no cost. And we are right now submitting those plans to the state. We have to just submit our plans to show that we are staying within the state guidelines. Any questions on graduations? The next is the drill statement of assurance. This just states that all of our drills, our emergency drills and our fire drills were carried out in accordance with code throughout the year. There has to be 1 fire drill and 1 emergency drill every month, and there's specific emergency drills that you have to have each semester. So they were all carried out as required. The application for the Child Assault Prevention Grant, which is the CAP grant, is also on the agenda. This is a program that basically teaches children how to protect themselves in a very age-appropriate way to tell adults, if they feel uncomfortable. This grant is, or actually the program is being taught to the kindergarten classes, the 4th grade classes, and there will be 3 parent workshops for that group of trainings. And then there's also a program for our special needs students, and there's staff and parent workshops for that training. And the grant is worth approximately $6,000. We pay for half the training and the grant pays for the other half of the training. And this is something that we do every year. It's really a great program. The agreement with the NJSIAA and the shore conference is also on the agenda for approval. This is just our annual enrollment in those organizations, so our high school students can participate in their athletic sponsored organizational activities. And that is it for student activities. Any questions?
Mrs. Walker, I don't have a question so much as I just want to just voice my sincere pleasure at watching the videos, the interviews with Sophia and Emily from South and Jada and John from North, as well as the packages that were put together for the graduations, virtual graduation. I think, the one, trying to look for upside in what is a really difficult situation with the pandemic is that, all the members of our community now have the ability to go online, pop open YouTube, and watch how articulate and how uplifting, our seniors are as they graduate, and I'm really proud of them. I think they did a wonderful job, all four of them, with their speeches. They're timely and just fantastic. And thank you to you and your organization, obviously, for putting that all together in the video production at South and North as well.
Yeah, it makes us very proud, and we're very happy for everybody. And this was, as you said, the situation was difficult, but the silver lining is that everybody gets to see, these students. It's wonderful.
And also thank you for putting together the modified in-person graduations now that the governor had lifted his outside maximum number of people limit to 500. When it was only 25, it just wasn't possible. But now that he lifted those restrictions of 25, made it 500. You've all worked so hard to make this happen for the kids to have a beautiful virtual ceremony and then a modified in-person ceremony. So thank you so much to you and your teams.
You're welcome. And it's the principals and the assistant principals that really have been working with their staff to really to make this happen and to listen to what the students wanted. So I'm looking forward to that event also.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
Okay. That's all I have. What's next?
Okay. So next we have, let's see. Our shared services, we didn't have a meeting this month, so we can move on to strategic planning. Let's see.
Hey Pam, quick question for you. Are you guys familiar with putting in a turf field at Nut Swamp?
Me?
Yes. I know you didn't meet with the township, but it looks like they approved 2 more turf, well, actually 1 whole set of 4 turf fields, but another one at Nut Swamp.
Well, that's part of the Normandy Park project.
That's part of the Normandy project. Yeah, that's kind of old news, Mike.
Right, but Nut Swamp's getting another field.
They were talking about turfing the grass field that's already existing.
Yep, that's what I was reading.
That's part of that project.
Do we have any involvement in that or no? Just let it go?
We're not involved financially. We will be involved with any logistics that would impact our property.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, at this time we move to the voting agenda, correct?
Are we done with committee reports? Sorry, guys.
Well,
are we
there's
going to do
strategic
the strategic planning committee report?
Strategic planning, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all I'll say is that we met and we updated the objectives based on community feedback, which I think we had a few emails. And I think the Friends of Diverse Learners. I don't think there was any major changes to what we presented last time. Or last meeting. I don't think we have a deck available, do we? Is it on the? in the materials. It's basically the same objectives, and some of the items I would say that received were more action items that we'll address with the various committees when we start doing that part of the process.
Yeah, I can just explain that on objective 2, goal 2, objective 1, we just added the word extracurricular activities to just make it more inclusive of not just curriculum and programs, but also other opportunities. And then goal 3, objective 1, we just added information about assessing and screening students in a more consistent practice.
Right.
So
Yeah.
there were only 2 changes for the entire.
Right. Based on the feedback we received.
That was based on the feedback that we received. Yes, but as you said, most of the feedback that we received was more in the form of action items that we will look at, going forward.
Right.
I think it's important to mention that this is on the voting agenda tonight. It's it's A2 under the report of the president.
Right.
And there is an attachment that details the goals and objectives to the agenda that's posted on the website.
Oh, it is. Okay. I wasn't sure if that was just on the board.
Yeah,
website.
it's under, I think it's labeled attachment President-1.
Okay. I don't know if anyone.
I don't see the legislative committee on the list, but I just wanted to give an update on the Smart Fund that we passed a resolution on. I've spoken to New Jersey School Boards Association, and Sharon Seiler has written a piece that she's putting in the school board's newsletter, and that's going to be encouraging all different Board of Educations in New Jersey to also pass similar resolutions or to contact their Congress people to support the Smart Fund bill, which is a bill that's asking $500 billion from the federal government to give to the states who've been hit hardest by COVID. It's about 21 states. So I was really happy that they were able to help us with that. They also were able to get me the contacts for all the board presidents in CD4 and CD6 that we share Congress people with, so that I can reach out to them personally, which I'll be doing tomorrow morning. I just got the contacts this evening. So, and that's it for the legislative update. Are we missing other committees? Let's see. I have the agenda on different pages here. Let's see. Nope, strategic planning. We did personnel in closed session. So what I'd like to do now is move on to public comments, and this is public comment on agenda items only. Please keep your comment to 3 minutes. We do have a 30-minute limit. And when you're addressing the board, remember to address the board president. If you have something to say to a specific board member, we will confer with legal to see if it's the right time to do so. You can also reach out to us via email if you want to have a bit of a back and forth. Your comment today is for the record, and we may not respond to you. And that doesn't mean that we're not interested. It's just to move the process along and to get your comment on the record. This is not a time for a back and forth. So it's not that the other board members are not interested in talking to you. It's just that normally the board president will quickly answer or refer you to one of the administrators to help you. And if not, we will email you to follow up. Or we will, again, have a back and forth email. Sorry, my family's being really loud right now. So public comment, Mr. Tola, please.
Lydia Loshavo.
Hi, how are you all tonight? I just wanted to, not so much a question, but just wanted to state my concern in the hopes that they will hold off as long as possible on finding the most accurate and up-to-date COVID statistics before making a decision as to whether or not the children go back to school. I'm sure this is something that was planned on doing. And I know that people are anxious, as I am, to know whether or not our children will be going back to school. However, I just wanted to state that I would rather wait it out, me personally, and I know some other parents as well, just to get the most accurate and up-to-date stats. Because as you know, information can change drastically within 2 weeks' time. The other thing is, I just wanted to know if the kids go back, how do they plan on communicating to the parents, how they intend to make it a safe environment for our children, and by what measures they plan to do this. Also, I wanted to know if they had any progress on what it would look like if the kids would go back to school. I know that that's also in process. I also wanted to know if the survey company has been chosen, and when its results will be public and followed up by a redistricting based on those results. And I also was wondering when they will announce who the new superintendent will be. And that's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
When you say survey, I'm sorry, when you say survey company, are you talking about the survey for superintendent, or
I think she's talking about the demographer.
demographer? They've been hired already. Yes, and they've started their work. Okay. Sorry, next.
I'm not seeing any more hands raised at this time. Oh, we do have one. Vera Piasecki.
Hi, just a quick question in reference to ESY. There have been a lot of posts on social media about quote unquote special education parents or people representing special education parents meeting with Assemblyman Scharfenberger as well as district school personnel, including Dr. George and others. I was just curious if somebody could give us some information on what that meeting encompassed, because I felt a little taken aback because I had filled out a survey not having background on what that meeting might have been that was potentially representing my child. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I can weigh in on that. I just want to say that it was just one more opportunity, like we do with our CPAG or response to any emails we receive, to communicate with school community. I was, Dr. Scharfenberger, Assemblyman Scharfenberger invited me to participate in the meeting. Myself, Dr. Tiedemann, and Mrs. Walker participated more just to listen to parent perspective as we continue to move forward with potential plans for ESY. Nothing more than that.
Okay, next we have Julie Prozeller-Hickey.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, hi. I had two questions. My first question was, when will the strategic plan be presented to the public, and when the board be voting on it?
The goals will be presented tonight during my update, and we'll be voting on the goals. The action plans won't be written until September.
Mrs. Rogers, also the goals were presented at last meeting. They're to be voted on tonight. And we mentioned the small changes that have been made to this point. And as you already pointed out, the action plans we'll be working on during the summer and bring to fruition in September.
Okay, Mr. Rotolo, do we have any more comments from the public?
I'm not seeing any more hands raised at this time.
Okay.
Actually, Julie Prozeller-Hickey is back. I apologize.
Hi, I guess I got muted. My other question was, I know that you had recently, from the last Zoom meeting, you had talked about hiring a firm to do the demography study. What is the difference between the one that's going to be done now, that's currently being done, and the one that was done 2 years ago?
It's just 5 years later, so we're taking into account everything that's changed in the past 5 years. Okay, I
Okay.
need a motion to approve the minutes for executive session on May 27th, 2020, and the regular voting meeting on May 27th, 2020.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? For the report of the president, I need the approval of the resolution for the 2019 to 2020 quantitative and qualitative goals. Whereas the Middletown Board of Education and the Superintendent, Dr. William George, entered into an employment agreement for a period commencing on July 1st, 2017 through June 30th, 2022. And whereas the superintendent is eligible to receive a merit bonus up to 14.99% of his annual base salary. And whereas the board, having conducted an evaluation of the superintendent's merit goals and performance, finds that the superintendent has met his merit goals. Now therefore be it resolved that the board approves the payment of the merit bonus pursuant to Article 1, Section D and Appendix A of the contract, and be it further resolved that while the board certifies that the quantitative and qualitative merit criterion have been satisfied, the board acknowledges that said payment is subjected to the approval of the executive county superintendent of schools pursuant to the terms of the contract and NJAC 6A 23A3.1 E11.
So moved.
So moved.
So I need a
Seconded.
motion to approve.
I move to
Discussion.
approve. All right, well,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm opposed.
Abstentions?
I'm abstaining.
Okay, did we get everybody? Okay, the next is I need a motion to approve the 2020 to 2025 strategic planning goals as recommended by the Strategic Planning Committee. These goals were developed as a result of the strategic planning survey, the community forums, and the meetings of the Strategic Planning Committee and subcommittees as per attachment President 1 strategic plan.
So moved.
Seconded.
Second.
Discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, I have a couple more things on my list for the president's report. Where do we have it? Sorry. Oh my goodness. Alrighty. We have a slideshow of the survey for the superintendent search that I'd like us to present.
Mrs. Rogers, I'm going to share my screen and bring it up.
Thank you, Amy.
Can you all see that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep. Just a reminder for all non-presenters to go on mute, please.
Okay, so just to preface this for Mrs. Rogers, there was a superintendent search survey that was conducted and it closed Thursday, June 18th. We have a total of 1,300 surveys that were submitted, and the next couple of slides will just present what the results were from the questions that were asked. So we asked what the role of the person answering the survey, what their role was in the district or community. They could answer more than one question, whether they were a parent or a guardian of a student, a staff member, parent, guardian of a graduate, parent guardian of a non-school age child or a Middletown resident with no children. So as you can see, the majority of the responses came from parents of current students. The survey asked respondents to give weight to what they felt were the three most important strengths in a superintendent candidate. And these were the top 5 of those 3 that were selected by all of the respondents. And then the next question was evaluating the importance of the aspects of a candidate's background, whether they have experience as a teacher or as a principal or assistant principal, central office, or prior experience of a superintendent. And so scores were given ranging from 1 to 5, with 5 being most important. So the results are presented here. And the next question dealt with what respondents felt were the 5 most important characteristics of a superintendent. And there were several options listed, and the most popular answers are listed here. The 7 most popular answers are listed here. And I know, and I don't want to speak for Mrs. Rogers, but I know that when the survey was put together, the board was looking for some high-level characteristics of the candidates that they're going to be looking at, and it will guide, how the interviews are conducted and how the candidates are evaluated. We will post this on the website as well. I don't know if anyone has any other questions, or Mrs. Rogers, if you want to make any other commentary.
Yeah, I guess just that we discussed an executive session this evening about going ahead with some interviews within the next couple of weeks for 6 top candidates. And we're excited about that. We got 20 resumes in of very highly qualified individuals. So I think it's going to be a very positive experience and looking forward to it. All right, there's just one last thing during the president's report that I wanted to talk about. I just wanted to talk about the recent events that have brought to light some systemic racism in the national culture. I just wanted to speak on behalf of the board. The Board of Education supports all of our students and their right to speak their mind. The Board of Education condemns racism of any kind. This Board of Education plans not only to voice our support with words, but to put that support into action. And we talked about that during the policy update today. We hope to implement policy to promote equality and embrace diversity when hiring professionals in the future and dealing with our curriculum. We hope to provide multidimensional, sustained professional learning experiences for teachers, counselors, staff, members, and administrators across all racial and ethnic groups. We will continue to support our administrators and teachers as they embrace a curriculum rich with Black history, especially those lesser-known African Americans who have contributed significantly to American history. We look forward to engaging in the future and working towards an anti-racist culture in Middletown Public School District. Dr. George and I have discussed having a presentation at our August meeting highlighting all of our existing curriculum and adjustments to the curriculum that our school district has made in response to the open letter that we were discussing before to address anti-racism. And this Sunday, June 28th at 3 p.m., current and former students of the Middletown Township Public School District will march and rally in an event entitled Spread Love, Not Hate. I, for one, could not be more in support of them and look forward to listening to what they have to say on Sunday. And that's all I have for the President's report this evening. Let's see.
Mrs. Rogers, I
Yes.
thought we had talked about maybe July, possibly after the curriculum committee met to discuss how that would be the best way to disseminate that information as a time for an additional share out rather than August. August is really revving, a lot about exactly going into the school year and what we're going to be doing. So I think maybe if the curriculum committee at their next meeting could come up with information that they thought it was pertinent or need to be shared, and then we could do it at the July meeting at that point.
Even
Does
better.
that
That's
seem
great.
okay? Okay.
That works for me. Great.
Thank you, Ms.
Sooner the
Rogers.
better. Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you.
What do we have next? Let's see. Okay, the report of the business administrator. So I need a motion to approve B1 through, B1 through 5, please.
So moved.
So moved. Seconded.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Abstentions? Okay, next is a report of the superintendent.
Bill, you're on mute.
Oh, Bill, you're on mute. Do you want to say something?
I see people do that all the time, and I'm like, come on, hurry up. What are you doing? I apologize. Before we take action on 2 through 9, I'd just like to give an update on kind of where we are with school coming back online and potentially what that's going to look like. So first, I want to say that we've been having weekly meetings with superintendents from across Monmouth County, looking at the reopening guidelines that are happening in other states throughout the United States. We've been discussing with the executive county superintendent and his administrative team what it may look like here in New Jersey. We are waiting further direction from the Department of Education and the governor, which we hear may be coming as soon as tomorrow or possibly Friday, if not tomorrow, about what school is going to look like in September. We've been running through different scenarios and different options based on what we're seeing in other states and the protocols that we're hearing here in the state of New Jersey. I know one thing to make sure that health and safety is paramount is going to be taking feedback and involving health professionals. Eileen Gavin and Kathy Granado, our two head nurses. Eileen Gavin is on a state reopening committee. So she's working directly with educators, superintendents, principals, nurses from across the state, kind of that are helping give protocols as it relates to well-being and health and safety. She's communicating and working also directly with Mrs. Walker on potentially what that could look like. One thing I know for sure, we'll be taking our guidelines from the CDC, the New Jersey Department of Health. They will be actively involved to make sure that our safety and well-being of our students and staff and our school community is first and foremost a priority as we come back online for next school year and what that's going to look like. We have developed 8 committees in the district with 150 members of the school community. Mrs. Walker has also reached out to Parent Information Committee to make sure we have representation from parents. We had a discussion in closed session with the board about what it'll look like, board members being involved in that. We certainly want to be transparent, and we want to make sure that our school community is in the know and actively involved in the process. We will be at a future date surveying the school community, just as we did with ESY. We wanted to wait on the survey or input, really we say survey, but getting input from our school community, our parents and our school community about what reopening will look like. It's very important for us to first get the guidelines from the state, what it's going to look like, so that way we can drill down with more purposeful questions and get better feedback from our school community. So those are really the next steps. We're waiting for those guidelines, and then we'll be communicating as quickly as possible with the school community. So that was my update. And then, so now the action items are 2 through 9. Are there any questions?
So moved.
Second.
I have a
Discussion?
question.
Mrs. Menuis, question?
Could you explain to me on number 5 what the Beacon program is in Keensburg?
Yeah, so that was something that was covered by Ms. Pickus in curriculum. And we said that, I think we have 3 students that are participating in that program for the coming year. I know the student that we had last year that participated in that program actually wound up developing a career, entering a career in law enforcement, and actually went into the program for law enforcement with the county. So, it's a great entry-level program. It's a program that we do not have currently in law enforcement, and they really have a model program. So that's where we got that.
I know about the law enforcement program, but it says, or the Keensburg Beacon Behavioral Disabilities, BD. That's what I'm questioning.
Well, that would be another program for students that it would be in their best interest to not be in our in-district program. I don't know if, really, we just try to have the opportunity for multiple programs for students as it relates to out of district, to try to give the parents and the child study team a multiple number of options to consider to find the best placement for an out of district program.
Do you know
IEPs.
what grade level this is?
For more information, I don't know if Mrs. Walker or if Dr. Tiedemann, if you want to give additional information.
I believe it's the K to 12 high school program. I don't know.
High school.
Yeah, we have some, we have students that, need an out of district placement, and that just is one more opportunity. Not all of our BD students are appropriate for the BD program that we have. So we have students placed in other schools throughout the county, and this would just be another option for parents to choose from.
Yeah, we like to get as many public school programs as possible. We also have students from out of our district participate in our public school programs. So to give public school options wherever possible is something that, obviously we aspire to do. And again, flexibility in programming to make sure there are multiple options for the child study team and the parents to choose.
I think it's just some high school students right now, but it's very, very limited because we have so many in-district programs. But like Dr. George said, it's just another option if our program isn't working. Then we work with other districts, and we take some of the other district students also.
That is really a model from the county and the state as well for us to share programming, public school districts, just to provide more options for child study team and parents, as we said.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
I'm opposed on number 2.
And abstentions. All right, moving on to student services. I need a motion to approve B1 through 5.
So moved.
Seconded.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions. For facilities, I need a motion to approve C1.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Policy is a first read, no action. So we'll move on to E, curriculum and instruction. I need a motion to approve E1. And is there an addendum to this too? Kim?
I'm switching my screen. Hold on one second. Yeah.
I thought there was an addendum to this. I know I'm having the same trouble. I have 3 different screens open.
I thought it was only personnel on the addendum.
Personnel only on the addendum? Okay.
So moved.
Yep, just personnel.
Okay, thank you. I need a second.
Seconded.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'm sorry, opposed? Abstention? I need a motion to approve F1. F1 through 4.
So moved.
Seconded.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Abstention? I need a motion to approve 10, 11, and 12.
So moved.
So seconded.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Abstention?
Pam, I have a question.
Yes.
Sorry, I apologize for interrupting. I guess this would be a question for Amy. Amy, what happened to numbers 5 through 9?
It looks like they were just misnumbered. It's just typos.
Okay,
Apologies.
just making, no, it's okay. I just wanted to make sure we weren't missing something on the agenda we need to take action on.
Oh, wait a minute, hold on. Let me take a look at that. If you want to move on, I'll take a look at that. Because I thought actually it does seem like there might be something missing.
Go back to it. Thanks, Nick. I need a motion to approve G1 and 2.
So moved.
Seconded.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? Okay. Now for personnel, we did this in closed session. I don't see the numbers here. Is this on the addendum? Is the whole thing on the addendum?
There's a whole personnel section.
Pam, I believe it's 1 through 24, including addendum items.
Okay. Need a motion to approve items 1 through 24, including addendum items.
So moved.
Seconded.
Second, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And abstentions? Okay, moving on to old business. Old business. If there's nothing for old business, we'll move on to new business, please.
So Pam, I just wanted to, I know I'd already complimented the student services team on the graduations, but I think it's also important to circle back to something that you had mentioned in your statement, which is how this board is going to work positively to create a culture of anti-racism, both here in Middletown and then by extension, everywhere that all of us have an impact on. And this has been a huge topic, obviously. It's not lost on me and my family. This also comes during Pride Month, which we celebrate here as well. And I think that in looking for good words here, there's a quote from Desmond Tutu. He says, "If you're neutral in the face of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor." And I think the point that the open letter made to us, and the point that a lot of the community has been speaking to us, and conversations I've had with people here in Middletown, is that they're not looking for us to come out and say that we are not racist. What they're looking for us to do is to come out and say we are anti-racist. In other words, instead of being passive, to be active. And I think it's really important that the board has taken a stand here. I think that, as a white man of privilege, I think it's important for me, speaking personally, to use my privilege to help educate people on things like how Black Lives Matter is not a zero-sum game, and how, yes, of course, all lives matter, but you can elevate our Black community, and we can elevate our LGBTQ plus community, and that doesn't have to be at the expense of anybody. It actually brings everybody up. And so I just am very proud of us for taking what I think are the easiest steps, which is to acknowledge this presence, this issue. But I want to make sure, as a topic of new business, that we follow through on this. And so what I would like to see and discuss is to take a data-based approach to how we are going to measure ourselves when it comes to anti-racism. Jada Tulloch brought up very courageously her personal experience in our school system, and it hurt me to hear her say that, but at the same time, I feel that I'm in a position that I can do something about that. And so what I'd like us to be able to do over the next couple of months, as we put our action plans together related to the strategic plan, is to come up with a data-driven way to look at the numbers that come out of our HIB reports, to look at the incidences of racism that are reported in our schools, both founded and unfounded, and to drive those numbers down through education, through community action. I think the march on Sunday is a good start, but I think as a board, we're responsible to hold ourselves accountable. And so that's my new business. I'd like to see us add that to our strategic planning process and our action plans, and to take a data-driven, focused approach on measuring and achieving change here.
Can I add something? The district right now, we're working to create a diversity council, whatever you want. There is no name yet for it, and that will be part of the steps that they will be taking also. So I agree we should put it in our action steps, but know that we are already starting that process, and we will be reporting out to the board on what actions we're taking, how we're uncovering the disparities, that cause achievement gaps, and just the data and actions that we can take to improve our practice. Okay.
And I also just want to add that every several years we are required through CUSAC to complete a district comprehensive equity plan and review. We just completed our review, our audit of our district policies, our programs, our curriculum, our extracurricular activities and offerings and participation last year in completing our new comprehensive equity plan. We had some areas in curriculum specifically off the top of my head noted where we needed to improve upon our curriculum and instruction with regard to Holocaust studies. That was one area that we included in our action plan last year based on that review. And as a result, we did some enhancements to our curriculum. And we also this year or next year, we'll be offering a new course. Mrs. Morales has been working with teachers very closely with some post-secondary institutions and using their resources to develop a new course of study. And I think, in speaking to Mrs. Morales and Mrs. Banglan, we are doing a significant review of our resources in our humanities courses as we embark on adopting new grade 11 and 12 novels and literature to support the newly adopted curriculum. We're taking a very careful lens and look at our choices and the recommendations for those adoptions. Mrs. Van Glan has some staff who are working with her in that regard. We are also committed to revisiting our comprehensive equity plan. We've already discussed that in light, again, of recent events to ensure that no stone is left uncovered, and that if we need to identify any further items to address over the next several years, we will do so.
Okay, and just one more thing for new business. I just want to circulate some guidance from the New Jersey school boards in reference to our virtual meetings. So the primary purpose of our Open Public Meetings Act is for the public to be able to observe public bodies in the meeting. And let me just read you this little bit. Let me see, number 7. We have, in order to be fully present for the members of our public and for consistency among all board members, all those on the virtual dais will use video unless it is impossible to do so, utilizing a well-lit space with a camera at or close to eye level. So just want to make sure that we're all abiding by that. I know I turn my camera off once in a while to use the restroom or whatever, but just so that we're abiding by the New Jersey School Board Association's guidance. From there, I'd like to open the microphone to public comment, and this is public comment on any topic.
Mrs. Rogers, just while you're talking about the topic of meetings, we did want to speak to the board. We've been talking about the potential that we would need a second meeting in July, earlier than our regular voting meeting, because of things that we're going to need to take action on. Most specifically, likely personnel for the summer and, potentially some other contractual things. So we had actually talked about, possibly doing something the week of, I think the first, that week of July 13th, one of those days. So we were hoping to get some consensus on that. I know that I guess a curriculum meeting was scheduled for the 15th.
We do have curriculum on the 15th, but
we do have, and that may run long. We do have another meeting at 6 p.m. on the 14th, I think, with the Strategic Planning Committee. So if that, if we could meet after that, that would probably work. That meeting won't be terribly long.
So what was that date? Sorry.
The 14th.
July 14th.
Okay.
We could do it immediately after the strategic planning meeting that's at 6.
Okay.
Everybody's agreeable. Is that a date that works for the board?
I won't be there. I can't be there. I'm previously booked.
Okay.
I'm free. Anybody else? How's it going? Everybody else?
It wouldn't be a long agenda. It would just be special voting items. That would be it. No committee of the whole or anything like that.
How is that going to impact our interviews with superintendent candidates?
Well, likely won't, because you guys already have a strategic planning meeting that evening.
So we can't have one that night anyway. Yeah. We need about 3 hours for those meetings, Tom.
I know.
So it'll have to be a different, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Or maybe we could do it Monday, Thursday, for the superintendents.
Well, you can let me know, Mrs. Rogers. I just have to advertise these meetings, in advance. But, as far as
Okay, yeah, and
as
the
a team,
session we
we'll
had
keep the,
said a Tuesday, Wednesday at 6. That's what we said in executive session, Tuesday, Wednesday, back to back at 6 p.m.
I have an idea. We could maybe move curriculum to the 16th because that was the other date that Mrs. Pekas had thrown out there. Does that work?
I would rather do that. I'm on the curriculum committee as well. I'd rather do the 15th. I'd rather not do it in the back of strategic planning.
Can we not get these set up for July 7th and 8th? Is that too early?
Are you talking about the interviews?
For the interviews for superintendent, that way we don't have to worry about running into the 14th and 13th.
I mean, if Mrs. Doherty, if we start scheduling them now, I mean, that gives people ample time.
yes.
So.
If anyone's not available, you can just meet with them separately.
Yeah, if we can do those superintendent interviews on the 7th and 8th of July, then that frees us up for that next week because we have multiple meetings the week after. We'll see. We'll try, and then we'll see how it goes, and then I'll email you guys to update you. Amy can email me, and I'll email you guys.
Yes, we can coordinate this tomorrow. I just wanted to, as a team, we wanted to bring it up to the board that we're going to need another vote. We're going to need a voting meeting that week of the 13th to take care of some items.
Okay. So now moving on to public comment, 3 minutes each, 30-minute limit.
We have, first we have Holly V. Holly is using an older version of the Zoom. She'll need to actually.
Update it.
Yes. Hold on one second. We can bring her in. Hold on one second. Holly's in. Okay, Holly's in.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, if you could just state your full name, Holly.
Holly Vogt, V-O-G-T.
Thank you.
I am a current parent and former all Bayview Bayshore North student. And first, I just want to say, I heard that you had implemented some additional teaching in the Holocaust last year, in 7th grade. So that would have been in 99. I brought that to attention that there needed to be more teaching on that. And again, in 10th grade. So I just hope it doesn't take 20 years for us to update our curriculum again to include some more relevant and useful information for our students on current situations and injustices. And then my other thing that I just want to say is I know that you guys are working super hard right now with everything with coronavirus and figuring out the schedule, and I appreciate all of your time. But the sooner the better for parents, for scheduling, for work purposes. Middletown Rec canceled camp really quickly, and that was now not good for my job. So and I know I speak for other parents as well. I mean, the quicker the better, the more involved we can be, the better. And that's pretty much it. That's all I have to say. But thank you, and keep it up.
Thank you, Holly.
Okay, next is Lydia Losciavo.
Hi, I just had a very quick question. I just wanted to know who specifically interviews the superintendent candidates, and are there any teachers on the interviewing committee? That's it.
It's just the Board of Education, the 9 of us board members that interview the superintendent candidates.
However, teachers from the district were encouraged to also fill out that survey. So it was teachers and parents. So we had voices from different stakeholders. So we'll be reviewing that again when formulating our questions. So, but yes, it'll be the 9 of us.
I'm not seeing any more hands raised at this time.
Okay, seeing no more hands raised, I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Well, just one quick question. So Amy, were we missing anything on the voting agenda for finance? I didn't.
No, I
I
went
didn't
back
see
and
any-
looked at an old version. No, it was just
I
a
was looking at the committee report.
misfire on the
Numbers.
numbering. Sorry about that.
All right, I need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Seconded.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstention. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Have a great 4th of July, everybody.
Yes, have a good night.
Thank you all for attending.
Bye.
Good night.
Night.